All right, let's talk about something that hits all of us in the wallet, the US tax system. I know, it sounds super complicated, but stick with me. We're going to break it all down in just the next few minutes. Let's dive right in. You know, this quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. really nails it. At its core, taxes are just the money we all chip in for a functioning society. But it's more than just paying the bills, right? It's also this powerful tool the government uses to kind of nudge the economy and even how we act. So, what is this system really? How does it actually work? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. We're going to look at what we're paying, who's writing the rules, and, of course, who's making sure everyone follows them. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the main types of taxes you'll run into. You can almost think of them as your financial footprint, different ways the government collects money based on what you do. All right, the big one, the one everyone knows about, income tax. This thing was made permanent way back in 1913 with the 16th Amendment. And it's no surprise that taxing what people and companies earn is, hands down, the biggest source of cash for the federal government. Then you've got FICA taxes. Now, this one's different. It stands for the Federal Insurance Contributions Act. The money that comes out of your paycheck for this doesn't just go into some big government pot. Nope. It's specifically for Social Security and Medicare. It's basically funding your own future retirement and healthcare. And of course, there are the taxes you pay every single day when you buy stuff. We all know about sales tax, right? It's that extra bit on almost everything. But then there's something called an excise tax. That's a tax on specific things, like gasoline or tobacco. Sometimes it's to make you think twice about buying it, and other times, like with gas, that money goes directly to fixing our roads. And let's not forget property taxes. This is mostly a local thing for your state or city. They're what's known as an ad valorem tax. That's just a fancy Latin way of saying according to value. It's simple, really. The more your house or your car is worth, the more you pay in tax. Okay, so you're paying all these different taxes. Where does all that money actually go? Well, it literally pays for the society we live in. We're talking about our military, public schools, the roads and bridges we use every day, and all those government operations that, keep the lights on. So that brings up a good question. Who's writing all these crazy, complicated rules? Well, it's not just one group. It turns out tax law actually gets shaped by all three branches of our government. It all starts in Congress. A tax idea, a bill, usually kicks off in a committee in the House of Representatives. Then it makes its way over to the Senate. If they have different versions, which they almost always do, they have to get together and hash it out. And once they agree, that final bill goes to the president to be signed into law. And what comes out of that whole process? That's what we call statutory law. It's the big one, the Internal Revenue Code, or the IRC for short. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like the giant master blueprint for the entire tax system, drawn up by Congress. But you know how blueprints can be kind of hard to read? You need instructions. That's where administrative law comes in. The IRS and the Treasury Department write these rules. It's basically the detailed instruction manual that tells everyone how to actually use the blueprint in the real world. Okay, so what if the blueprint and the instruction manual still don't agree, or something's just not clear? That's where the third part comes in, judicial law. When you or I have a disagreement with the IRS, we go to court. The courts act like a referee and make the final call. And those decisions, they become part of the rules for everybody else going forward. And all of this leads us right to the folks at the center of the tax universe, the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Their whole job is pretty simple, really. They're the ones who collect the taxes and make sure everyone is playing by the rules that Congress writes. Now, I know when you hear IRS, your mind probably jumps straight to audit. But here's something that might surprise you. The IRS actually audits less than 1% of individual tax returns. And most of the time, it's not some random draw. It's usually triggered by a computer when, say, the income your boss reported doesn't match what you put on your form. Yeah, and getting audited doesn't automatically mean someone's going to show up at your door with a briefcase. Not at all. The most common type is a correspondence audit, which is really just a fancy way of saying they send you a letter asking for a bit more info. The in-person field audit is a much bigger deal, and it's way, way less common. Okay, this brings us to a really, really important final point. When it comes to taxes, there is a hard, bright line between what's legal and what's not.
On one side, you have tax avoidance. This is 100% legal. It's just using the tax code to your advantage, taking all the deductions and credits you're legally allowed to. On the other side, you have tax evasion. That's illegal. That's when you're being deceptive, like hiding income or just flat out lying on your return. One is being smart, the other is a crime. Big difference.
And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. The US tax code is famously ridiculously long, thousands and thousands of pages, and we all complain about how complex it is. But is that a mistake? Or is it on purpose? Because Congress uses all that complexity to encourage us to do certain things, like buy a house or to help out different groups. So is the complexity a bug in the system, or is it a feature? Something to think about.